What's up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Just Grow It, the podcast. I'm your host, Big City Gardener, and today we are talking secession planting. So let's get to it. What is secession planting? It is the process of planting your crops on a well thought out, well-timed schedule. So for example, it is sowing carrot seeds every 2 weeks, sowing bean seeds every week during your ideal planting time. Now, why would anybody do such a thing? Well, I know that sometimes you have a short planting window for certain crops. Let's take beans, for example. Here in Houston in the fall, you can really only plant bush beans in September. So that's 4 weeks when I can plant the beans. I know that sometimes I used to run out the first week of September and plant all of the beans that I plan on growing all throughout my beds that one time. But then what ends up happening is 50, 60 days later when I'm harvesting the beans, I end up getting all of that harvest all at once. And while I love beans and sometimes you can freeze them to preserve them, what has happened in the past is I've just gotten, just burnt out, man. I just had too many beans at one time and I didn't want any more. And I know this happens to a lot of people. So then what you end up doing is you end up just leaving these things in the garden, allowing them to fall back to the soil, or just pulling the whole plant and throwing it into your compost pile. You're not getting all those nutritional benefits. You basically wasted time growing this crop. And because you're just overrun, you just don't want any more, you end up wasting it. So by practicing secession planting, what I'm able to do is really stretch out and extend my harvest. So if I were to plant beans or carrots every 2 weeks, rather than getting all of that harvest at one time, I would be getting a little bit every 2 weeks. That usually helps with the burnout, and that usually helps keep people interested in whatever crop it is that they're growing. Another reason why I practice secession planting is because I'm in an urban garden. I don't just have all of the space in the world, so I have to be strategic with what I grow and when I grow it. And by being strategic, what I'm able to do is to maximize my yields in my gardening space. So secession planting is one of those tools that helps you maximize your yield from your garden. So how do I go about secession planting? Now, you've heard me mention seeding, but you don't just have to use seeds when it comes to secession planting. You could easily grow your transplants. Let's say lettuce, for example. I can grow some transplants, put them out in the garden, and then as soon as I put those seeds out in the garden, I could start some more seeds in my greenhouse, inside, wherever it is that I grow my transplants, and then in 2 to 3 weeks, move those transplants out to the garden. One way that I'm able to stay on top of this whole secession planting thing is to make sure that I upload my planting schedule into the calendar in my phone. Yeah, and then I'm able to just set alerts and they remind me, hey, this weekend you need to go out and plant another row of beans, or you need to go out and plant some more radishes, whatever it is. It's just an easy way to stay on top of it. Now, if you don't use the phone, you can use one of these, man. It's my garden journal here. And in this garden journal, if you use it properly, what it should do is remind you what days you need to be planting what. But we'll talk about garden journals in another episode. Now, one thing I want to remind you is when you're practicing secession planting, you need to make sure that you are constantly enriching your soil. So whatever your favorite organic amendments, fertilizers, KNF, nutrients, whatever it is that you use, you need to be ready to add more to the garden. Because the more things we're growing in the garden, the more macro and micronutrients that are being stripped out of the soil. So we need to be able to put them back in. And that's where our organic amendments come in. So if you're practicing succession planting and you notice that your second or your third round of crops, they're a little bit slower to germinate, or they just don't seem as vigorous and hardy as your others, then you may need to add a little bit of amendments or a little bit of fertilizer to your garden. So I like to mix in a nice slow release fertilizer early in the season, and then throughout the growing season, I like to spray liquid fertilizers onto my garden. A lot of compost teas and things like that. And that's basically succession planting. As you can see, there's not much to it. What it really means is that you need to just have a well thought out plan for your garden. And we all know how important that is and how much more you can enjoy your gardening experience when you have a thought out plan. That's it for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. If not, let me know what I can do better. But until the next time, you guys take it easy, get out in the garden, and just grow it. Before I let you go, I need you to do more than one thing. First, I need you to like, comment, subscribe to the podcast. Second, I need you to tell a friend or two about the show if you enjoyed it. And if you have anybody you think I need to talk to, I should interview, send the name over, put it in the comments, or send me an email. I grow at Big City Gardener. And check me out, man, on Instagram and on all social media platforms, Big City Gardener. We out. Oh, almost forgot. Just grow it.